What's up? Real MVPs, Ricky Widmer here, and welcome in to another edition of Wet Boys. These are the dampest of dudes, the soggiest of shooters, the moistest of men, and sometimes even the mistiest of misses. This is Wet Boys. We record it on, today, Sunday. They are our players of the day from the day prior. So in this video, these are players of the game from Saturday who were the ones that had big pop-off performances. If you're new to the video, how we do it is we usually have 5 Wet Boys. So each of the guys at MVP Sports, myself, Dave, Soapy, Jake, we all nominate a Wet Boy each and every day. And then our patrons at patreon.com/MVPvids. They get to vote. Silver, gold, and platinum tiers get to vote every day on their own Wet Boy, and we collect the votes for a collected Patreon vote. So if you want to get down the vote for that, check out our Patreon page. Silver and above gets to vote on that every single day. We also do a YouTube vote kind of to see what the general public thinks. Who should have got a Wet Boy that probably did not get a Wet Boy for that day. And today, let's start off. We've got 5 Wet Boys, a little bit different for the patron Wet Boy. I'm going to leave that to last. We'll get into that at the end, but let's go down the list like we usually do. First up, Dave Oster. He is nominating Lonnie Walker of the San Antonio Spurs. Now, the Spurs did lose to the Bucks, so I do say Dave going against his rule. Usually Dave's a guy where if you lose the game, you don't deserve a Wet Boy. But Lonnie Walker, 31 points in the game, went off from beyond the arc, had himself a game. You know, the Bucks are just a good team, and the Spurs, they're not as good as the Bucks. So maybe that's what Dave was thinking when he was picking Lonnie Walker instead of going with a player from a winning team. Dave, Lonnie Walker, the first nomination. Jake, on the other hand, he's going hometown. Now, Jake, Philadelphia area, he is a 76er fan. He is going with his boy, the hometown guy, Tobias Harris. And Toby, this is actually his 3rd Wet Boy of 2021. 29 points, 11 rebounds. Jake also said he just wants to see the one game where Toby gets to 30 points. He said he feels like there's a lot of games where Toby gets to 28, 29, but can never eclipse that 30-point mark. 76ers get the win over the Kings without Joel Embiid, without Ben Simmons in that game. Tobias went off. Also, Danny Green went off. That was kind of shocking to me because Danny Green is usually hot and cold, yes and no. Seth Curry didn't play that game. So 76ers had Toby. They didn't have Ben. They didn't have Joe. They didn't have Seth Curry. It was basically Danny Green and Toby on offense. Thibault on defense, being as great as he always is. Sixers with the win. So Toby getting his 3rd Wet Boy of the year. For Soapy, he is also NBA to start. Only one Wet Boy from college, but Soapy also going on the train, or no, pardon me, he did not. Going with a surprise win. And I say surprise win only because there's an asterisk here. It is an Atlanta Hawks player. LeBron got injured in the game, so maybe that's one of the only reasons the Hawks were able to sneak out the win. But Soapy Muffins, he is giving his vote today to John Collins. John Collins, 27 points, 16 boards, 3 blockades in the game. The Atlanta Hawks get the win, and an interesting snippet, if you have not heard this already, for the Hawks, they are a perfect 8-0 since Nate McMillan took over as the interim head coach for the Atlanta Hawks. So that only means one thing, folks. That only means one thing. That means you go on to, if you're a sports bettor out there, you go to whatever app you use, you look up the team futures in the NBA, you just hammer down $25 at least on the Atlanta Hawks. Atlanta Hawks going to win out the rest of the year. They're going to the ship. They're winning the title. You know what I'm saying? This ain't no. They're going to win every game from here on out and go to the ship. Am I right? Am I right? That seems like a really good bet. So go ahead and hammer down that 25 on the Atlanta Hawks to win the ship. Then we get to my Wet Boy. And my Wet Boy comes, it's the lone college player. And this is also a boy, also a guy that Dave has talked about. I say boy because college kids are younger than us. But Dave has talked about this player at length when we've talked about draft subjects. He comes from the LSU Tigres, beating the Bonnies, and I had the St. Bonaventure Bonnies moving on. But LSU proved me wrong, and Cam Thomas is the reason why. This kid, 11 of 13 from the line, hit some big threes, had 27 points. It seemed like every time the Bonnies were getting momentum trying to get back into this game, Cam Thomas just said, no, F you. Boom, here's a big shot. We're going to go back up by 8. We're going to go back up on 9. It just seemed like that kind of a day for the Bonnies. So, yeah, I had to give some love to Cam Thomas of the LSU Tigers for their big win. And I will say this, heading into Monday's matchup with Michigan, I might be hammering down on the LSU Tigers to upset Michigan because Texas Southern gave them a run for a little bit. This Michigan team, I don't think is that great. We just saw Illinois get bounced from the tournament on Saturday. So, hey, it could be, or on Sunday, I should say. So it could be anything goes in that game between the Wolverines and the Tigers on Monday. And then we get to the patron vote. And we're actually doing something a little different today because there is another day where the patrons did not vote. You know, it's a Sunday. People have their own things to do. But there was not one person that made a patron vote for a patron Wet Boy. So I was talking to Jake, Soapy, and Dave. I hope you don't get mad. Jake and I kind of made a pimp decision. And what we are going to do is we are initiating the patron no vote clause. And what this clause means is the poll that we put up on the YouTube page, we put it in our community page. We usually give about 4 or 5 choices. If you guys have a Wet Boy that's not on that choice, you can comment to that community post who should get a Wet Boy for that day. And yeah, we go ahead and we basically see out of who didn't get a Wet Boy, who should have probably gotten a Wet Boy for their performance. But the patron no vote clause now means if not a single patron votes for their Wet Boy, let's put it this way, a privilege that they are paying for, that they get, a reward that they get for supporting us, and we are happy for all of our supporters on Patreon. But if they don't want to use it, we're going to delegate that to the masses. So basically, today, since there was no patron vote, whoever the winner of the YouTube vote was from the general masses that sub to our channel, that person's going to get a Wet Boy. And that means the Wet Boy for today, the patron Wet Boy, Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield went off against the 76ers. Didn't do enough to get the win, but hey, it was one of those where I was looking at the player props going, I did not expect Buddy Hield to have this many points, to have this many threes in the game. He was a flamethrower out there. Maybe raising his trade stock so they could trade him before the deadline. Maybe that's what he's doing. I don't know. But Buddy Hield, he gets the vote. You can see the voting right here, how it went down. He had 55% of the vote today. The other big one was Johnny Juzang of the UCLA Bruins. They move on. They are playing. They beat BYU. They're now playing not Ohio. Let me get to it. I will get to it. They're playing Albany Christian in the next round. Albany beat up on Texas, and they won on a maybe questionable foul call, but that should be a good game on Monday. But yeah, from Saturday, Buddy Hield getting the Wet Boy, mainly because no patron wanted to vote. So no patron votes. We will then initiate the patron no vote clause where you, the general public, get to vote on the Wet Boy, and that person then gets the Wet Boy because there was no patron vote. That is going to do it for Wet Boys today. Remember, if you want to get in on the action, make sure to support us at patreon.com/MVPvids. Otherwise, vote in the poll that we have out each and every day on the community channel. You can still have your voice heard if you do not have the $5 or more to throw our way to support us. I want to thank you guys for being as great as you are. We will be back tomorrow for another Wet Boy where we do this all again. Thank you guys for everything, though, and as always, have a good day, everybody.